Imagine it's the weekend, and out of the blue, you start experiencing a wave of anxiety. Even though you don't have an important deadline pending, even though you don't have important events the next day, just out of nowhere, without any specific trigger, you experience anxiety. Or you're out with your friends, and in the middle of having fun, suddenly you feel a tingling sensation in your body, and suddenly you start experiencing negative thoughts that distract you from all the fun and the connection you have with your friends. Or you're preparing for the trip that you're going to take. And even though it's still 2 days until you leave, still you feel restless, as if you should be doing something else and you're not, or as if a disaster is going to happen and something will go terribly wrong. If this is happening not only once in a blue moon, but quite often, this is what you call anxiety for no reason, but this is what in psychology we call generalized anxiety disorder. Hi, I'm Vassia. I'm a psychologist and I'm here to dig into the world of anxiety and understanding it so that we can learn how to reverse it, how we can bring more inner peace and calmness and joy again into our lives. And today we're going to explore the reasons why we feel anxiety for no reason. And also we're going to discuss some ways so that we can stop this restless and unsettling feeling that we're experiencing. So some people, or not only people, but also research shows that there's a genetic predisposition for those that they're experiencing anxiety, for those that they're struggling with generalized anxiety disorder. And of course, genetics play a significant role, but at the same time, it's again the same question, nature or nurture. Are we experiencing anxiety because we have a family history of anxiety and mood disorders, or because we have been exposed and we are modeling all the behaviors from our parents or our environment that are the coping mechanisms of anxiety and the fears that we are discussing and the worries that we're discussing in our family, and we learned anxiety through them. Nature or nurture? So research shows that, of course, it's both for many people, and we become even more susceptible to experiencing anxiety because, of course, of our genetic predisposition, but also the behaviors and the experiences in the family history. What happens to our brain when we're experiencing anxiety? And let's take only one instance of experiencing anxiety. What happens is that the center of emotion, what we call the amygdala, which is responsible for processing emotion, is being activated. This is the part that it's at the back of our brain. It's activated because we are scared, worried, something bad will happen. And it's activated, and at the same time, this is the limbic system that makes us go into fight or flight mode. Okay, there's something wrong happening. We need to do something about it. We need to survive. We need to get out of this situation. We need to protect ourselves. This is our autopilot for millennia. That's why we survived all these years. We are the first thing that happens when we experience threat around us is that the limbic system is activated, amygdala is activated, and then we fight or flight so that we can survive. And at the same time, the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain here at the front that makes all the executive decisions, the good decisions, the rational decisions in our life, is not working 100% because we don't have time to think clearly or to weigh the pros and the cons. We just have to run. We just have to do something. So that's one instance of anxiety. That's what happens. Amygdala expanded and prefrontal cortex squeezed and not having the control at that time. However, if we are under chronic stress, that means that the amygdala is constantly expanded and the prefrontal cortex is constantly squeezed. And you can see that the structure and the space distribution in our brain changes. This means, in simple terms, the amygdala stays activated even though it shouldn't be activated. And that's why we are experiencing anxiety, even though there's no threat. And that's why we see problems, worries, worst case scenarios, negative thoughts all the time, because the chemical balance, but also the structure in our brain has changed. And this, of course, doesn't happen overnight. That takes years or months to happen. When we are under this condition of chronic stress, what happens is that our brain's fear centered is sensitized, activated all the time. That's why we are experiencing anxiety. Is that reversed? Of course. We are calling that neuroplasticity. The fact that some neurons and the brain's balance has changed, it means that it can change back to its original shape. But again, not overnight. It takes some effort. And what is this effort that we need to do? Remember that we said that when we have anxiety, our brain's part, which is called amygdala, is activated because we are scared that we are not safe. Being in this constant condition of not feeling safe is what we want to change. We want to convey to our brain the message that you're safe now. I can take it over. I can change the situation. This is when we actually use the prefrontal cortex. I'm going to handle that. I can trust myself. This is the message that we want to send to our brain so that we can learn, even though we're feeling activated and that there's an imminent threat around us, that we can say to our brain, no, you may think that there's a threat, but no, there isn't. It's okay. We are okay. So, how are we going to do that? First of all, I don't know how many of you have tried therapy. So, one way that we can do that is we can learn through therapeutic approaches. And one of them, maybe you know them already, cognitive behavioral therapy is one of the most successful therapeutic approaches for managing anxiety. Why is that successful? Because you are learning this metacognitive skill of understanding and recognizing your thoughts. You're not only having thoughts, but you are able to get out of your head in a way and view and observe these thoughts and then decide what you're going to do with them. Eckhart Tolle says, you are not your mind. And when we understand and realize that we can have negative thoughts, but we are not our negative thoughts, or we can have negative thoughts, but they are not necessarily true or helpful, then we are taking control over this anxiety, over this restlessness, over this panic. We're taking control because we observe our thoughts and then we are able to change them, replace them with more rational, more balanced, more healthy, more helpful thoughts. Try working with a therapist. It doesn't need to be CBT. Therapy generally helps into bringing this awareness and this transparency between you and your thoughts so that you can see and work with them. But also, therapy helps with working on past traumas. What is happening now, which is the anxiety, is just the result of accumulated trauma or pressure or a burnout that you're having. And then learning to go to the original source of this anxiety is even more helpful and sustainable rather than working with something more current and present. So therapy helps. Secondly, what is it that you can do? Changes in your lifestyle, changing your diet, exercising regularly, getting sufficient sleep, avoid excessive caffeine or alcohol. And you might say that this is too good to be true. Just because I'm going to sleep more, or because I'm going to change my diet, or because I'm going to exercise, this is going to change my anxiety? Yes, because remember we said it's a lot about the chemical imbalance, but also this anxiety is stored in your body. And the only way that it can get out of you is through exercise and respecting your body and practicing self-care. So these life changes can be actually life-changing. They can be transformational. They can offer the peace, the calmness, the safety. Remember, we're trying to convey the message to our brain, you are safe. You're safe, you can sleep. You are safe, you can exercise. There's time for you that you can exercise even though you're so busy. You are safe. And a third way that definitely works for many and offers all these benefits that we said before, the feeling of safety, but also the clarity in your thoughts and the ability to not engage with your thoughts, but just observe them, is, of course, when you practice mindfulness and meditation. These practices, they promote living in the present moment instead of being either in the past, ruminating and over past regrets and past mistakes, or being in the future and obsessing with things that might get wrong. So it helps you, meditation and mindfulness helps you be in the present moment and therefore break the unhealthy cycle of anxiety. So let me know whether you have tried these practices. We're going to go deeper into these or other practices in future videos, but that was just an introduction to understand where anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder, comes from, and what are the first things that we can do in order to stop this negative cycle. Our life, our modern life, has become way more complicating than what our brain is used to process. So being busy, having a lot of responsibilities and chores and errands, and raising the standards of our lives and being constantly exposed to social media, it can also make us believe that we have to run all the time and there's no time for us. We have to reach unreachable and unrelenting standards all the time. So don't blame yourself that there's something wrong with your brain. Anxiety has been more common than the flu nowadays. It's more common than that what you can imagine. And there are many people that they're experiencing even high functioning anxiety, which means that you don't see it. You see them functioning to a very good degree, but it's all happening internally when they don't interact with other people or when they're not at work. So it's more common than you think. We're not here again to blame or shame. We're here to understand. And after the understanding, we can better navigate our experiences and we can support ourselves and we can heal and then grow. Thank you very much for joining me today. And I hope that these insights were useful and valuable for you. Have a look at the other videos that we have shared in the past about anxiety and perfectionism anxiety, which is something that I speak very often about. And also check the antiloneliness.com site for more videos on anxiety and how to support yourself, but also how to support other people when they're struggling with anxiety. And of course, don't forget to check the Academy, because there are courses in there that can help you deal with all these fears and inner critics that constitute this anxiety disorder, that sustain this anxiety disorder. How to silence your inner critic, how to deal with fear of failure, how to practice more self-love and self-compassion. You're going to find them all in there. Have a look at the Academy and you're going to find the course that actually matches with your needs. Thank you very much. Feel free to contact me, share your experience, share your questions here. And until next time that we meet, take good care of yourself.